money from your friends? Your best friend, your roommate, your housemate, your colleagues at work, or from your neighbor. The utang culture is really ingrained in the Filipino culture. And do you know people who said that they don't have money, but they actually spend so much on new shoes, new Merrell or Nine West shoes? Or do you know people who said that they don't have money to pay bills, but they have the latest model of the iPhone? Oh yes, you get your priorities straight. Or do you know people who were so obsessed with cosmetics, and they really wanted their kilais in shape, and so they say they love putting their kilais in shape because they believe that hashtag kilay is life? Or do you know people who believe that travel is lifer? So when they see the piso sale of Cebu Pacific or Air Asia's red hot piso sale, they book the flights without even saving for it. And do you know people who book the flights and then saved later? Or people who book the flights but saved for the flight or for the travel earlier? You know, or the people who actually love traveling, they love adventures, they love exploring new cities, they love meeting new people, but aside from all of those, they love capturing Instagram-worthy photos. But do you also know people who go on shopping, and when they see 70% off or 80% off items on sale, they rush to the nearest mall, and only to find out that when they get there, the items are still at 700 pesos or 800 pesos. And then they think, oh, should I buy this or not? It's 700 or 800 pesos. And then they would think, I spent many hours with terrible traffic getting here, so I should buy this item. And do you know people who go on food trip? These photos are mine. They go on food trip, and yeah, but it's part of an official travel, huh? With my money spending for this food. And so, or do you know students who are so stressed in the past 2 weeks, they deprive themselves of food in the last 2 weeks because they don't have enough money they don't have enough allowance, they don't have enough money, plus they have requirements in my AB 191E class, Management 101 class, or there's a student, when she sees me, it's like I have an invisible paper in my forehead. And after that, when you receive your allowance at the end of the month, you tell yourself, oh, I should go stress eating because I deprived myself of food in the last 2 weeks, and so I should spend money on food. And then you were stressed again after stress eating because you don't have enough money anymore. And it becomes a cycle. It becomes a vicious cycle of debt. And do you know people who are in that trap? Is actually a trap. And when you cannot get out of it, you are in trouble. And not only students, not only professionals, if we are in this trap, or if we could be in this trap, smallholder vegetable farmers could also be in this trap. And we'll basically look at specific case in Barangay Marilog in Davao City. And we'll look at the case of smallholder farmers who loaned from a microfinance institution. Barangay Marilog is approximately 60 kilometers from Davao City Center. You get there by bus or by a private vehicle. But of course, when you go to the specific sitio, you should ride a habal-habal or you walk going to the area. And this is their mode of transportation on the right. And on the left, that's the road when it has been raining for several days. In this area in Upper New Sabang and in Marilog area, we're trying to do a project that basically looks at development of communities in the area. And we followed this livelihood assets that's from DFID, or the Department for International Studies or International Development. And then it follows 5 capitals. I'll discuss each of these. The the context here is we follow these capitals, we try to improve these capitals to alleviate the poor from poverty. So we should improve human capital, natural capital, physical capital, social capital, and of course, financial capital. Human capital looks at skills of a person, his or her knowledge, attendance to training, attendance to capacity building activities. Social capital looks at relationship of people, how well the people are connected in the community. While physical capital looks at infrastructure in the area, available facilities, available post-harvest facilities, and the other facilities that are needed by smallholder farmers. Natural capital, of course, looks at environment in general. Does the farming contribute to sustainable development or sustainable farming or not? And of course, which is the meat of this study, financial capital, which are farmers able to manage their finances? Do they loan from whom? Do they loan from loan sharks? Do they loan from microfinance institutions? This group of farmers in Barangay Marilog, and the sitio is called Sitio Upper New Sabang. It's basically a group of 16 farmers. And these 16 farmers, the average number of years in education is only 6 years. So either they have 1 year in nursery or 1 year in kindergarten, and they had 5 years in grade school, or they had 2 years in kindergarten and they had 4 years in grade school. And they have average annual income of about 54,000 per household. So that's very small. No? And they acknowledge that they need access to credit because they need to expand their production. They need to grow more vegetables. They need to access markets. So they need to borrow money from either loan sharks or from microfinance institutions. And of course, they utilize children in carrying, hauling the products from farm to the consolidation area. And because they borrowed money from microfinance institution, they had a debt of 48,000 pesos to 56,000 pesos each. How could they pay that? Mang Kanor here, oh, not his real name. Mang Kanor, you know Mang Kanor, huh? Right. Mang Kanor is the sitio leader. He's the cluster leader, and he's organizing this group of farmers. But Mang Kanor had 4 cycles of loans. So meaning he loaned the first time 8,000 pesos. He loaned the second time 20,000 pesos from the same microfinance institution. He loaned the third time of 30,000 pesos. And very recently, he loaned 50,000 pesos. The first 2 cycles, according to the microfinance institution, he was in good credit standing. But as it increases from 3rd to 4th cycle, he cannot pay his loan anymore. What did he do? He actually loaned from another moneylender, a neighbor, which has a very high interest rate, 10% per week, or 40% a month. So how did Mang Kanor manage all his debt? So this is how the computation looks like. He had 50,000 of the loan amount, less 15,000 pesos for advance payment to the microfinance institution, less 11,000 pesos as payment to the other moneylender, and 1,500 pesos as service charge because they, in the part of the microfinance institution, and 1,000 pesos mandatory preferred share. So what's left now is 21,500 pesos, and this is very recent. So how was 21,500 pesos spent? He spent it on cucumber production, which had a cost of 15,915 pesos. But you look at those cucumber, Mang Kanor reported it was on failure because of pests and diseases, because of unfavorable weather conditions in the area. So what did he do? And where's the remaining 5,585? He spent it on household consumption. So he bought 2 speakers, he bought 1 bed foam, He bought 2 speakers, and he also paid, he looked money to pay for when his wife had delivery of birth. So that was a few months ago. And, I'm sorry, of course, if you look at that situation, Mang Kanor still pays the debt. He still pays the debt. He borrows money from another moneylender to pay the debt. And when this debt here is due, he borrows another money from another moneylender. And he is in that cycle. He is still in that trap, even at the moment. But we're assisting, we're giving interventions in terms of talking with the microfinance institution to adjust the terms, or to adjust at least the interest rate or the payment terms, but we're still working on it. And if you look at that story of Mang Kanor and how we relate it to our story, now we have do you have debts? Do you have debts? Where do you borrow money? From your friends? Or do you borrow money for those who are employed in the government sector? Do you borrow money from the government service and insurance system? In that kiosk, you tap your card, and then the machine reads the information in the card. In 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks, you had your application for loan. And in about 24 hours, you get the money in your account. And do you have credit cards? Now, how about for those other employed and maybe students? No, they have credit cards or supplementary cards from your parents. Do you pay them? Or how do you pay them? And the key message here is farmers, professionals, students even, we can get into this trap, right? Trap of debt. And we cannot get out of it. If we cannot get out of it, it would be difficult for us to get out of it. But for those of you who are not yet in the trap, do not ever try to be in that trap of debt. Do not enter, according to Jen. And yes, that was me 8 years ago. That was my graduation in my diploma class, in econometrics class. And why is this relevant? When you graduate from college, who tells you that this is how you manage your finances? This is how you manage your first monthly income. Who tells you? Your mother? Your father? Your friends? Or you spent it on La Cuacha? Or doing all those travel and doing Instagram-worthy photos and doing all those food trips? Do you do that? No? Who actually tells us? Who tells us? Is financial literacy important? Yes? Then if it's yes, then why is it not included in our basic education system? Why do you think? Why is it not included in our curriculum? So, if you are in the situation of being in that trap, and again, as what I've said, never attempt to be in the trap. If you are in the trap, you find your resources, you find your strength, financial strength, you look for resources to get out of the trap. And it really pays to budget your money, to budget your allowance. Even if you are students, you budget your allowance, you budget your money. And do you have utang now? When do you pay them? Are you paying utang and now they're on the back? Or are you paying them later after the lecture? Or are you paying them 2 years from now, 1 week from now, 2 years from now, 1 decade from now? Or are you paying them 2 decades from now? Or are you paying them through thank you, like utang na loob? And if we translate that to English, the formal term really is debt of gratitude. But if we translate that in literal terms, it says debt of inner self. Debt of inner self. Is that how you pay your money? Is that how you pay your debt? Or do you pay it in a lifetime, where you would say, till death do us part? Thank you very much.